Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be back. Had a little technical difficulties. I'm the technical difficulty. So happy to have you today. And today our topic is kind of near and dear to my heart because I'm launching this new Play Big movement. And I've had some people reach out to me with questions, and it's hard to play big if you're broken financially. And so as we talk about this creation and the course that I'm putting together, it's actually in two parts. One is to support you if you feel like you're financially broken or you're in, over your head in debt and you need help getting to the next level. We are going to support you in doing that because the first step is to get to where you're breaking even, right? Getting to where your income at least is equal to your liabilities and your expenses. And that's my greatest goal, is to make sure that we are supporting you in creating the life that you deserve. And then the second portion of the course is to get you from breaking even to financially free. How's that? Is that a deal? And so it takes you step by step, and it's not just the individual actions that you need to take. It's also what you need to do up here, because so much of money issues and money problems come from just the way you think about it. You've heard me talk about, what did your parents say about money? And that's, it's a real eye opener to determine what is really going on in here in our subconscious. And I've shared with you about when you're young and your parents talk about pinching their pennies or money doesn't grow on trees. Those things are all negative statements. And so you keep hearing these comments, and so subconsciously we build up this fear, this emotional thing. Money is just a piece of paper with ink on it. We attach this emotional connotation to it. And what happens is we get ourselves into debt, and we get this fear. We talk the concept work-life balance, which I don't like that concept, but the work-debt balance is what keeps us from achieving the success we deserve. So in order to play big, I want to help first get you to the point. If you are in debt or if you are struggling financially, let's get ourselves out of the hole. And the way to do that is to figure out where you are. Just taking that time, because so many people, and I'm not saying you, but if the shoe fits, so many people that certainly are in financial trouble kind of put their head in the sand. They don't want to know. They don't want to know where they are. And it's like, if I just ignore it, it's going to go away. Guess what? It's not. And so it's really powerful when you can say, I'm taking a stand. I'm going to figure out where I am. Even if the news is really yucky, bad, you actually feel empowered because you took the step to pay attention to it. And my father said, a map doesn't do you any good if you don't know where you are and where you want to go. So you need to figure out where you are. And then we're going to support you through this course on step by step on really looking at what you need to do, comparing yourself to national averages, starting to focus on one thing at a time, looking at your credit score, getting your credit report. All of those things will help you, again, have little wins. I talk about my little wins as, one little win at a time, and all of a sudden you wake up and you have a big win. And so my goal for you in 2018 is to have you work alongside me to get to the point where you can play big. Now, you may be already ready to go, and that's great, because with the bulk of the course is about taking your level of success today and exploding it exponentially to the level where you truly are playing big. And you, again, we talk about the Play Big movement, which is being number one in your field, living your legacy, and creating maximum impact. And that's what I want for you. And that's what the decision and the commitment I've made for myself is, to start really playing big again. And that's why I want to share what I'm doing and have you come right along with me. Last week, we were here for 2 days recording. I think I shared that with you on Wednesday last week. And it was exhausting and exhilarating at the same time, because I know I'm back in the saddle. I'm back doing what I need to do to play big and feel good about myself. That's part of also that feeling good about that you're really doing everything you can to impact the lives of others in a positive way. And so ask yourself, are you ready to play big, or do you need to clean up some financial mess? Now, usually we do these and we keep recorded for evergreen, but this is April. This is Financial Literacy Month. So this is really a time to really focus on where you are. Many of you have just filed tax returns or filed extensions. And so it's kind of ever present. You kind of know where you were for 2017, and maybe you should look at where you are this first quarter of 2018. Are you better off than you were at this time last year, or not? And make that assessment. And if you're better off, figure out how you are, what did you do to make it better? And then keep doing that while you focus on playing big. And if you're not, if you actually are in worse financial condition today than you were a year ago today, then it's time for you to make that commitment. Nobody can make that commitment but you. And so let's get your financial house in order very quickly so that you can also play big with me this year and into the future, because the only precious resource we have, ladies and gentlemen, is time. And we can make money and lose money. We can basically have wonderful success, family, but we can't get our time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So we need to make use of every opportunity to impact the people around us. And when we talk about living our legacy, I see my dear friend Lisa's on there. She talks about living your legacy every day. And that's really how you make other people feel. That's the legacy that is most important to all of us. And of course, creating maximum impact. Every one of you is an expert. Nobody's lived your life, been in your shoes. We want to support you in moving in that direction. So I see, oh, hi, I've got Karen. Love you, Karen. She's here every week. And Chantal, love to have you with me. And I'm so excited that today we're talking about something that's near and dear to my heart, not only because it's Financial Literacy Month, but because when it comes to money, you're either a master of your money or a slave to it. And my goal is to make you a master of your money. Once you become a master of your money, you truly can play big and create the success that you deserve. So we have quite a few questions, so I want to jump right into them. Let's see. You can't play big if you're financially broken. My name is Mia, and I'm writing from West Virginia. I'm currently a full-time employee, but spent almost a year unemployed after graduating college. Oh, that's so common these days, Mia. During that time, I racked up quite a bit of credit card debt, trying to live without income. How do you define financially broken? Although I am not in a positive financial place, I do feel empowered that my eyes are open to my situation and that I'm doing something about it. Can a person be broken and empowered simultaneously? Absolutely, Mia. This is exactly why I'm doing this podcast today, this Facebook Live today. This is exactly why I'm creating this course, because you've taken that first step. You've determined where you are, and you are committed to doing something about it. So congratulations. And every one of you out there, being financially broken doesn't mean you're broke. It's time to get the glue out and put your pieces back together, because it's a state of being, not a state of mind. And you have an opportunity to do the necessary steps to get out of that hole. And in the course, and certainly today, my quick recommendations to you is think about, look at the lowest credit card balance you have and pay that off first. That's going to help your self-esteem and get you excited to keep going. And then focus on every raise you get, every bonus. Instead of spending it, use that to further pull down your debt. And you have the opportunity to really create the life that you want, because I think this is, it's an opportunity for you to create at this young age a future that is unencumbered. So I congratulate you at this young age. Oh, Sherry, hi Sherry, love you. Oh, I changed your life. No, you changed your life. You changed your life. I love that I inspired something and gave you something to get excited about, but you took the action. So please own it, step into your own power. And thank you, Angela, always there to support me. And Susan, welcome. Wonderful to have you with us. And this is all about you. Okay, we talk about where you are today because the choices you've made. And Mia's story may apply to you as well, because some of us, we wake up and realize we've gotten ourselves into a situation that was kind of easy to get into. You know, debt, credit card debt is kind of easy. Credit card debt in the United States is over $1 trillion. And that's scary. It really is scary to me. And yet the global economy is growing very well, and 2018 is expected to be even better than 2017. And so there's a disconnect. Over half Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And in some surveys are saying 3/4 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I'm going to be speaking in the UK next week in Liverpool, and they have the same stats. Over 50% of the people there are living paycheck to paycheck and can't afford even an increase of 50 pounds in their monthly expenses. So this is a situation that's in your home. And so the only person that can change that, you and I may not change the global economy, but we can change what happens in our wallets. And so Mia, you've taken that step, and I congratulate you. So you are no longer financially broken because you're taking steps. So you've moved up my scale. You'll see, you know, in the course I have a different scale. And so in that scale, you are now committed to becoming a master of your money, and you're taking the actions necessary. So keep up the good work and keep going. And I think, you know, your future is very bright. And I bet there's a few of us out there, Mia, that wish that we had taken those steps at the same age you are, so that we'd had a little bit more freedom in our life from being worried about money. Next question. Hello, Sharon. I am Pierre from a small town in Idaho. Thank you so much for taking my question. I would like to ask how important you feel credit is in the journey to playing big. I currently have stable income that exceeds my expenses. I am not debt-free, but do have a healthy savings account, and I'm starting to look at investment opportunities. Unfortunately, I shared accounts with someone that did not fulfill their credit obligations, and my own personal credit score has suffered. Are there specific steps I should be taking to improve my credit score and prepare myself to play big? Well, Pierre, boy, that's a lot of questions all in one. So let me see if I can address. First, make sure you're no longer on any credit with that individual that you just shared. And for each of us listening or watching this a Facebook Live, make sure you are aware of where your credit is being tied. And yes, your credit score is important when it comes to wanting to have good debt, because you certainly, when you decide to start investing, you don't want to have to pay higher interest rates because of your credit score. So number one, get your credit report and review it immediately and see where there are errors. And depending on where the dings are on your credit, you may very well try to pick up the phone and call the person who's reported you. If it's a big, huge company, you may not be able to accomplish too much, but you never know. You may be able to get some of those dings taken off when you explain the situation. And as you go forward in your credit, obviously we want you to get out of all bad debt, but while you're doing that, pay attention to the credit cards that you have. Keep the outstanding balance less than 30% of your available credit. So if your available credit on a credit card is $10,000, keep the amount that you use on that card less than $3,000 at all times, because you don't know when in the month somebody's going to check your credit. And so it's very important. That's one of the huge step that most people don't know about. And it's kind of a secret to make sure you keep your amount borrowed less than 30% than the available credit on your cards. And then also pay attention, when you pay off a credit card, don't close it unless it's charging you really high fees, because when you close it, you're actually reducing your available credit, and therefore that's going to hurt you in the long run. Just as that person brought your credit down, if you are close with someone who has excellent credit, if you align with them, their excellent credit can help bring up your credit. Just make sure you don't do anything to harm their credit, like this person you talked about harmed yours. And there's a lot of other things that you can do. The various types of credit you have, how long you've had that credit, and certainly making sure every payment is made on time. and making sure that you continue bringing down the ongoing balances. And also looking at where you are on your good debt versus bad debt, because good debt is something that helps you build assets. It's good debt that's something, for instance, a mortgage on a rental property where your tenant is paying you rent enough to cover that expense. That's good debt. But you, again, it's always important to just be on top of what's happening to you financially. But your credit score is very important as you start investing, because you want to be able to get the best type of debt at the best type of rates. And so your credit score is important. So Pierre, it's a great question. I think it applies to a lot of us, but definitely start by getting your credit report and making sure you're no longer attached to that individual in any way. And you start whittling away at all good credit, making sure your balance is below 30%, making sure that you're paying everything on time and paying it off if you can. Start with that lowest balance first, like I shared with Mia, because that's going to give you confidence to keep going. But don't close that card, because that's going to hurt you. Next one, hola, Sharon. Hola. I write from Miami. My name is Jose, and I'm 48. I have 5 children, ages 10 to 23. Ooh, 5 kids. I would like to ask what I should be sharing with my children today so that they are set up to play big when they are ready. Is there one specific lesson on money or business that I should focus on? I would truly feel that I am living my legacy if I could know that I have given my children the information they need to create the future they wish to have for themselves. Well, Jose, I think everybody watching or listening to this that has children want their kids to be successful. So I applaud you. And with 5 children, it's really important, because they each need to have their own sense of existence and belonging and standing in their own power. And part of that is understanding that they have responsibilities. You know, when people talk about raising their kids, and it's important. We tend to want to shelter them, and that sheltering becomes enabling. And what we want to do is empower them. And so sometimes we have to let them fall and help them get back up. By teaching them. You know, the greatest gift of a lifetime for a child is financial education. And so the fact that you're paying attention to this now puts you so far ahead of so many parents out there. So I applaud you. And this is going to sound like a commercial plug, but your kids are the perfect ages for the Thrive Time for Teens game that is available on my website or Amazon. And I share that with you because it's with so many children, it's they can all play together, and it's fun, and it's got a lot of humor in it, and it keeps the personal angst out of it. Many times parents don't want to talk to their kids about money because they themselves are struggling, and they don't want their children to see that they're struggling financially. So they don't talk to them about it at all. Well, that's the greatest disservice. And so by creating this game, I created a tool that is a safe environment. And it's got a lot of fun and humor in it, because it is so important for them to learn the importance of the choices they make, because it's not just money. It's not just teaching them about money. It's teaching them to make good choices for themselves, and not to go along with the crowd. And so the game actually is a time and money game, and it teaches them the choices that they make that can help them succeed. And some choices they're going to make are going to pull them down into failure. So whether it be debt or just taking them a step back from their potential. And so the whole game is situational. They learn about the importance of starting businesses, understanding the difference between passive and active businesses. They understand that sometimes in life we make choices that cost us money, like maybe sitting on your glasses or dropping your cell phone. And that those sometimes are not foreseeable expenses, but we need that kind of safety net. And so just getting them to understand their choices are their own, and that they need to stand in their own power. A lot of parents do too much for their children. And I've talked about the good old science fair, where you go in and you know exactly which things that parents have done. And I recommend that you just ask yourself, do an assessment of where your children are. Are they responsible? Are they doing what they need to do when they need to do it? Are they doing things for themselves? So I talk about allowance a lot. And I think there's a certain level of personal responsibility that a child shouldn't be paid an allowance for, like brushing their teeth or making their bed, and then a certain family responsibility. They're part of a group, and certainly with 5 kids, I'm sure they all have their own chores, but part of that is something that you do because you're part of a group. And so I encourage you to, that shouldn't be necessarily an allowance paid for that as well. And community responsibility, helping the neighbors or the homeless, or doing something for the church, but then rewarding them for doing things above and beyond, whether they're, help you clean out the garage or certain closets, or they take on an entrepreneurial endeavor, or sometimes because they're very active in school, they're working hard in school and they're very active in sports, that they don't have a lot of extra time for chores. And part of that is recognizing that and supporting them. So we want to encourage that entrepreneurial spirit in our children so they can continue feeling strong about themselves. The greatest gift you can give a child is self-confidence. And as part of that self-confidence is understanding money, not just how to make it, but how to keep it and how to grow for them. Because once a child knows how they can make money on their own, they're set for life. That entrepreneurial spirit is a gift that can last forever. Okay, so I can talk about kids all day long. Next one. Hi, Sharon. This is Mary writing from Arizona. Yay. I know you have done a lot of work here locally with kids about money. You are probably asked this all the time, but I wonder at what age you start talking regularly with kids about money. Do you focus on measuring or understanding value, or another idea? I am a parent and a grandparent, and when my kids were young, we realized only after it was too late that we didn't do a good job of teaching them about money. I would like to support my kids in finding ways to break that cycle with my grandchildren. I would love to hear your suggestion on where to start. Well, that is a great question, Mary, and certainly I hope you were listening when I was just sharing about Jose. And people ask me that question all the time. What time should I start teaching kids about money? And I say, what age do you think a child knows the difference between a $1 bill and a $20 bill? A lot of times people will say 5, 4, even 3. They certainly understand the purchasing power in the difference. And so once they understand the purchasing power, it's important for them to start understanding the difference in the earning power. And so it's never too early to teach your kids about money. And you can do it in a very nonchalant way, just being aware and sharing information. You may take them to a fast food restaurant, McDonald's. I'm not encouraging you, but you're at the McDonald's and you can talk about, there's a company that makes the straws, another company makes the wrap that the hamburgers are in. And the owner of this McDonald's isn't even here because there's business systems that are being run. Just making them aware of the economic world around them and having those conversations is, and you can make it a game. And then the next time you go out, the kid can say, hey, they obviously pay somebody to launder and wrap these napkins when you're at a nice restaurant. Those are things that just continue to expand their awareness of the economic world around them. And too many times we don't want to talk to our kids about money, but they learn the spending power. And that's where we get into trouble. They learn how to spend it without how to earn it. And we need to balance that out so that they can learn. Because when they do, my grandson who's 11 is just, he is an entrepreneur with all capital letters. And he sets his goals for what he wants, and he keeps track of what he's made and what he has left to earn. And it's just, I'm very proud of him. Not always were my kids as great about that. So I understand where you're coming from. And I'm sure quite a few people that are watching and listening to this have been in that same situation, Mary. So your own kids, if they have suffered, which you imply they have, they probably realize it too. And so there's lots of things that you can do. Having, little field trips with your kids to talk about money when you're out and about with them, when you're in the car. Those are all things to make them aware of the economic world around them, and let them, today with credit cards, there's just so little delayed gratification. And so think of ways to instill some delayed gratification, because that helps build self-confidence. Have your child set a goal, something they want, and then sit down with them and set a plan. on how they can earn the money to get it. And maybe it's something that, obviously the task should be a lot easier when they're 3 than when they're 13. But again, that gives them the opportunity to set a goal, create, milestones along the way, have little wins, and then have the big win. And that builds self-confidence in a way that nothing else can, because they realize they've done it on their own. And so that simple idea of giving, so many of us, we want to buy things for our kids, and we instead of empowering them, we dispower, we enable them. And so they think, well, I can't do it on my own without mom and dad helping, or grandma and grandpa in this case. So I applaud you for paying attention to this and recognizing that, Mary, because it is so, so important. And again, depending on what ages your grandchildren are, I'd recommend Thrive Time for teens as well. And I think Angela put a link in the comments below. So hi, Megan, wonderful to have you with me. And now let's see, we've got a Robert. My name is Robert, and I would like to ask about using debt for financing, for investing. I've spent years focusing on maximizing my employer-sponsored retirement plan, but at the age of 55, I've come to the realization there just isn't enough time left for me to build it up enough to live the life I would like in retirement. I'm hesitant to take on more debt, as I feel that I am at a stage in my life where my investment strategy should be more conservative. If I decide to use debt to finance new investments, are there types that you would steer clear of and others that would work better for debt financing? Well, that's a great question, Robert. I appreciate that. Now, I am going back to where I was talking about Pierre earlier. I hope that you listened to that response. If not, let's rewind so you can see and listen to that response. But as it relates to, Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken at 65. So you have still plenty of time. Certainly an employer-sponsored retirement plan, when they match it, is a good idea. Leaving your money passively in an account to grow on its own is not the quickest way to financial freedom. And so you may want to think about, if you have a hobby, can you turn it into a part-time business? What can you do on the side to start making additional revenues that you don't spend, but you invest? And when you talk about debt for investment, again, pay attention to what's good debt and what's bad debt. When you have the ability, let's say, again, my example of a rental house, to be able to borrow money to buy an investment property that the tenant is paying for that, then that's really good debt, and it helps you build your wealth. Creating assets, you want any debt that can help you create, build, or buy assets that are income producing would be good debt. Just make sure you're doing your due diligence. And I'd have to tell you, the first step is, can you sleep at night? So balance out and make sure you don't get yourself to the point where you're so heavily in debt that you can't sleep at night, because that's not good for your health. But start small and start moving in that direction. Sometimes people borrow money to start businesses, and those businesses don't succeed. So make sure it is a high reward, but also high risk area. So do your due diligence, make sure you have good advisors and team. Borrowing money to invest in the stock market is never a good idea. I don't recommend that at all. So again, think about it. Maybe you should get a personal financial planner that is willing to talk to you about things other than just stock. Go to your banker, look at what you've got. Sounds like you've got investments, so you've got a retirement plan. So sounds to me like you've got the ability to borrow. Just make sure that when you borrow, it's for something that has a highest level of success, because you're right. As we age, I'm doing this myself. I'm, in my 60s. So I make sure my investment strategy is not nearly as aggressive as it was when I was in my 40s. And that's something that is a valid thing to look at, but you still have a lot of runway left at 55, a lot more than I even thought at 55, because now I'm looking, I think 80 is pretty young. So you have a lot of runway left to do something. And having been thinking about retiring last year, I'm no longer thinking that way, because there's a lot of life left, and I want to make sure that I live it to my fullest. And that's why I say to play big. And for you to play big, you may need to start looking at how you can create some good debt to get assets to help you build that foundation of wealth. And yes, Gilbert, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you telling me I'm incredible, but assets are key, and assets are what? Sexy. Assets are sexy. It's not about income, it's about assets that generate income. That's what creates true wealth. And then I have another question here from Tammy from Barbados. Hello, Tammy. I would like to ask if you feel it is possible to play big without going into debt. I have read your blog and watched videos where you talk about good debt versus bad debt. I understand that using debt will make certain types of investments more accessible. I have seen how damaging debt can be through watching family members get too deep and have sworn to not take on any debt myself. Do you feel that I'm hindering my speed or ability to play big by sticking to this promise to myself? Okay, I bet I see some fear here, Tammy, and I bet a lot of people watching and listening have experienced the same fear. And you made a promise not to take on any debt to yourself. So I would actually start there. Certainly the things that I've just shared with Robert would apply to you as well. I don't think you shared with me how old you are, Tammy, but I definitely don't recommend people take on so much debt that they are stressed to the max and again, not able to sleep, or the loan to value ratio. So what happened in 2008 where too many people were using their homes as a bank. They were continuing to borrow against the value of the home, and then the value of the home plummeted and they were upside down. That's something that's very, very detrimental. So you have to make sure you're doing things that are wise investments, that your debt to equity ratio doesn't get out of whack too much, and that you have the income coming in to cover that debt. But first you need to start up here, because if you are truly debt averse, you need to examine that. And certainly it's a choice that you're making. So I'm not going to tell you to go get in debt if you're not in the right mindset. And so again, this course that we're creating on Play Big, we talk about getting from financially broken to financially break even, and then from financially break even to financially free. That first series is going to help you take those mental steps to how to get to the next level. And those financial steps are going to help you examine that risk tolerance that you have, or intolerance, I should say. And so ask yourself, what is it about me that I'm so fearful of debt? Because that fear of money is going to keep you not only from being stress-free about money, it's going to keep you from being able to play big. And fear it paralyzes us or motivates us. And my goal is to support you in stepping outside your comfort zone, but not without also taking care of what's going on up here. Very, very important. And I'm already looking that I'm coming to the end of today's Ask Sharon, but I want to emphasize some of the things we talked about earlier today, because it's so important. And I want to invite all of you. Angela's going to put in the comments how you can join the private Facebook page that we're doing for the Go Big movement, Play Big movement, because we haven't launched it yet. So this is kind of, you're getting on the ground floor. We've sent out a couple of things to some of our private groups, and we'll be sending out an email blast in the next few days, but I want each and every one of you to be on the ground floor. So Angela's going to post that in the comments for you. And I am going to remind us that we had Mia on the phone and with her question, and she's talking about realizing she was in credit card debt and feeling like she was financially broken. You already taken the first step, Mia. I'm just reminding you. The first step is just to figure out where you are and then make a commitment to move forward. And so you've already gone back. So you're no longer financially broken. You are financially committed to breaking even. So congratulations. And Pierre, looking at investment opportunities, and you had that ding on your credit from being involved with someone else. We've talked about those action steps. Everyone watching and listening, if you have not gotten your credit score recently, make sure that you get the score and your credit report to see if there's any kind of incorrect information, so you can get it corrected. And also ask yourself, You get one free report a year, or you can have credit monitoring services like Credit Karma is a free service that allows you to monitor your credit on an ongoing basis. Plus, it's set up to alert you when there's a credit problem. So check out Credit Karma. It's free, but get those credit reports and review them to make sure that you don't have any errors that need to be corrected. And of course, maintain your balances under that 30% of available credit. That's going to help take you in that neighborhood, and make sure you're not aligned with anybody else has bad credit that's going to pull you down. And then Jose from Miami, talking about 5 children and 10 to 23, great time for you to be talking to them about money. The greatest gift you can have is financial education, giving them the ability to stand on their own. Once a child knows how to make money, the world, the sky's the limit. And then Mary, same thing in Arizona about your children, your grandchildren, just being willing to pay attention to it and take action. Our school system isn't educating our kids about money still to this day. As much as we've made a little progress here in Arizona, there's still so much more. So it's up to us as caring parents, grandparents, caring aunts and uncles, just caring adults for the children and the young people that we care about to make sure they have the tools they need. And then Robert and Tammy all talking about debt, good debt versus bad debt. And that's the journey that I'm on with you to play big. And part of playing big is understanding the difference between good and bad debt, getting rid of bad debt and using good debt to help propel you. When you have the mindset along with it, that's what's so important. That's what's missing when people fail, is they don't change their mindset. And so this journey we're going to do together is talking about things you can do to get your confidence up, step outside your comfort zone, and adjust how we think about money and playing big, along with taking the action steps to actually make it happen and realize it. So thank you all so much for being with me, and thank you for all your wonderful comments. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I love you, and I will talk to you next week. Please send in your questions to info@sharonlechter.com. And Angela has posted the link. Please join our private Facebook group, as we are going to be launching it. I'd love to have you in on the ground floor. And we're going to have lots more content and free things coming in there that won't be available anywhere else. So thank you so much, and have a fantastic week. You are all fabulous. I love you all, and make it a great week. Love you.